All right, I should be live. It looks like it's working. Let me know if you can hear it, and or if there's any errors. Just let me know in the chat there. Probably go for about 15 minutes today, so hopefully you should see my screen there, hear me talking, and we should be good to go. So yesterday got a question, and this is a pretty common one. Sometimes I'll just explain how to fix the error that happens if you do not put this room.items equals bag at the top. So in this little demo game, I've downloaded this one, but I've made modifications to it. So don't just use that one as a basis, because I've made big modifications to it. This needs to go before you start defining any rooms, okay? And any other things that you've done as well. So if you've added something else to the room class, maybe you've added like room.cleared or room.alternative description or something, that all needs to go here. If you do it afterwards, if you do it after you define the room, so if you do it down here, then you've already defined the rooms, and so they're all going to have the same bag, which is what some people were getting, and that means that every item is in every room and doesn't really work very well. So that goes just there. So it's got to go after the import bit. Another question that was asked, how do you make it so you cannot enter a room without using an item like a key? That's a pretty good question. And so what I would do, I'll just quickly throw together an example here. We'll call it locked room equals room. I don't need to do that. You are now in a locked room. And I'll add a connection there. So I'll go magic. So valley.east equals, actually I'll just do it from the starting room, so that starting room dot east equals locked room. Now there are a few ways to do this. And I'll add in an item, so key equals item key. And we'll add that to the starting room, starting room.items.add key. Okay, so I've got a key, I've got this, and I've got a room. It's called locked room. It doesn't matter. What I need to do here, if I was to run this now, so I run PowerShell, and hopefully my program works. Where have I got this? HCD Python Python demo game.py. Okay, so a key is here. Get key, actually I think it's take key in the demo. You pick up the key, if I type inventory, you have key, go east, I think I just typed east, you are now in a locked room. However, if I restart this, and I type east, you go east, you are now in a locked room. So what happens here is it's just running that connection. So what I would need to do is in the bit here in the direction, you can add your own conditions. So there's a few different ways to do this. I could say if current room equals starting room and inventory dot find key. Say print you and direction equals east. So these three conditions must be met in order to go east. So what I could do here is then I can just copy this here. I might say you unlock the door and go in that direction. But I'm going to have to put in another condition here. LF current room equals starting room and direction equals east. Say you cannot go that way, the door is locked. Now you notice I'm not checking for the player's inventory. And I'm also going to end the function here so it doesn't ever go on to check that bottom bit. So any conditions that are specific to my game, I can put at the top here. If the current room is the starting room and the inventory.find key and direction equals east, I can unlock the room. So let's check this now. I should be able to go back to PowerShell, which I'll have to make sure I leave open. H cd python demo game. So if I type east, you cannot go that way, the door is locked. Get key, take key, and now I go east. You unlock the door and go east. You are now in a locked room. In this case, I would probably want to return here as well so it doesn't go on and do that same bit there because I've already done it here. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is to not actually add the connection. Until the player picks up the item, and then you can add the connection at that time. So as long as you have defined the rooms first, you can add connections later on in the game. So that would be another way to do that. Third question, how can I make a player start with an item? That's pretty easy. So we've got inventory equals bag, and then you can just go inventory.add. I'll give them the key right at the start. Instead of putting it in the starting room, I'll give them the key. I'll run this now. You're in a dark room, inventory, you have key. East, you unlock the door and go east. You are now in a locked room. So I can start them with an item. All I have to do is put it in the bag. But don't make the mistake of doing inventory.items.add because inventory is the bag, but at the top here, room.items is the bag. So that means that each room has its own property called .items, which is a bag. But down here, inventory is that variable that refers to this specific bag. So those are three questions that I got. And yes, you do, Cody, you do, because I'm about to go on to actually starting the program from scratch if you haven't done so. And if you're fine, you've already started your program, that's pretty much it. You probably don't need to watch. But if you have struggled a little bit with the program, what I want to do here is go through the structure of it. And this structure was in the PowerPoint that I put out, the Hackerman slide. And that was part 3. And this slide here. And this is how you should structure your program. If you follow this, you shouldn't get a whole lot of logic errors in terms of defining variables and things before they get created. But at the top here, right at the top here, we've got imports. So we want to make sure that we use these imports. So the first thing we're going to do is from AdventureLib, import everything. Okay, that'll save us from having to type in AdventureLib in front of everything. If we just import AdventureLib, we've got to type AdventureLib in front of everything. Then we've got rooms. First thing we're going to do, room.items equals bag. That's the first thing. Then you can define rooms after that. You can see in my demo game here, I'll just zoom out a little bit. I've got defined rooms, room.items equals bag. Then I've started defining the rooms here. Now, I know some of you will have access to this demo one. It is available on the website if you've downloaded the AdventureLib library separately in order to use it with repool.it. But just be aware that it does a few things in here that I haven't covered. If you want to read up on what contexts are and so on, I removed them from mine. That's a bit down here. I removed the contexts because I wasn't sure if I was going to go over it or not. But just be aware that it does some things, especially also up the top here when it defines the rooms. It defines the rooms and the connections at the same time, which I think is a bit odd and it's kind of hard to follow. So I brought the connections out and just put them down here. So we define the rooms, then we define the connections between the rooms. Then we define the items that we want. And notice I put a little comment above everything. Then we add the items to the bags, I should say bags. And other variables and bags is under that. Okay, so if I had a variable, this is where I actually defined current room. I think I said current room equals starting room in my other program. So that's what I would do there, and I would probably just leave that like that. Starting room equals that, you're in a dark room. And then down here, other variables, current room equals starting room. Then we've got the main part of our program, which is all the different binds and functions that we've done. The go functions, and you don't have to follow exactly what I did in class here. In fact, a lot of your assignment is going to be adding in these extra little conditions just to check whether the user has an item that they want. You could make it, I mean, there's so many different ways to do this, so don't think that you're bound by this way. Okay, if you want to make a key that unlocks a door, maybe you have to get the user to type in unlock door, and then you could add that connection between the rooms. There's so many different ways you could do it. There's no one particular way. Take item. Okay, so there's take item. We talked about things that the program should do and what the user would expect it to do if they're playing a text adventure game. So the basic ones in here are probably pretty good except for cast, but that just gives you an example of other things that you could do. So look, take item, direction. You make sure that you make it as kind of user friendly as possible. Get item as well. Okay, so we can get, take, grab. You can put in any number of synonyms in there. I think that's the right word, synonym. And go from there. So I'll just bring back up the YouTube thing. Yeah, if you want to import time, it goes right at the top. I know a few of you guys are using time.sleep to add like little delays in your adventure. So I could do this starting room, and then for example here I could add in time.sleep 1 and then say that. It's not the best function to use, but I get what you want to do, and that's fine. You can use it in this, that's okay. Also, if you were using any random things, you might go import random. If you knew exactly which random one you might use, you might say from random import randint. And you could do it that way, or you could just import random. Of course, this being an assignment, you can do this at home. So the thing with this is authenticity, okay? So I should be able to tell that it's yours. And yes, there will be some similarities between them, especially in some of the functions like getting items, dropping items, looking, and so on. But you're also going to have other specific things that are unique to yours, such as looking at a particular thing and giving descriptions back to the player. You can go as detailed as you want in this. You do not have to just have a, very generic. There should be a clear ending, although that wasn't actually really defined in our plan, which now that I think about it was a bit of an oversight on my part. But you should have a clear ending, somewhere where maybe the player escaped from the maze or they escaped from the house. So you would only do one if function per paragraph. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, yes and no. So this is just like a different thing. And that brings me to the next part of comments. Okay, so in this bit here, I'll add a comment to see what this does. Check if the player is in the starting room with the key, and that's it. And then down here, I'll just go generic movement check for most other rooms. Okay, so putting a little comment like that, I don't need to comment every single line. if I put something like that in, it tells me what this block of code is going to do. And it's pretty straightforward. It also will help me when I come to market, because I can look at it and go, yep, I see what you were trying to do there. It doesn't quite work. Let's see what we can do to fix it up. If you're having errors, send me your file. Like I said yesterday, send me your file. It's not like I can look at this in Classroom and kind of go, yeah, you're missing a semicolon here, or no semicolons in Python, but you're missing a colon here on the end of this line. Your indentation's funny. Sometimes you get that issue where you get like mixed tabs and spaces in Sublime Text, and so I can help you fix those things. That's not a problem, or give you some tips on how to do it. Like I said yesterday as well, I can't do your assignment for you, but there's plenty of examples that we've got here. I'll be going through some more stuff in the next few days, so I'll build some of this up here. First things first though, I will add one more thing down the bottom here. Def main start, and then the if m. If you are using REPL, you can do this. It's just the error I was getting in the previous video where I tried to show this is I was putting quotations around that, which I shouldn't have been. So this will still work. And so this here is a very basic program. I could run that now and it will go, and then I can start adding more stuff to it. All right, let me just read this chat for a sec. If the user uses an item like a key, it leaves their inventory. Sure, I can do that here. Okay, well, let's just change this a little bit. I'm going to change this a bit. I'm going to change this and get rid of this stuff here. And I'll do it a different way. So they're going to start with the key in their inventory. You're in a dark room. There is a locked door to the east, and I'm actually going to delete that connection. Okay, so I'll show you a different way of doing it as well, and then we go here. So I'll say at when unlock door with item. Actually, I'll just say unlock door. I could probably also say when unlock door with key. I don't need to be specific here, but I will need to check in a sec. If inventory dot find key. Actually, we'll do it. We'll take the key out, like you said. T equals inventory dot take key. If T equals none, so if there's no key in the inventory, I will print you don't have a key and return else. This is not the best way to do it. I know some people are going to get frustrated now because I've done the negative first instead of the positive, but it's okay, I don't mind. Print you open the door, and the key is now out of the inventory, but what I need to do is add that connection. So starting room.east equals locked room. That connection is now there. There is going to be one other issue, which you'll see, I'll show you in a minute, but I'm going to leave you to figure that out. Python demo. Okay, there's a locked door to the east. Inventory. I'll say east. It doesn't actually say anything now. I'm still in the dark room. I probably want to have something in there that says you can't go that way, but for now I'm just going to unlock door. You open the door, and then I can go east. You go east, you are now in a locked room. Probably not the best descriptions here, but you can see that it works. If I type inventory, the key is gone. Okay, so there's plenty of ways that you could do this. Don't lock yourself down to one way. In fact, you could probably do it better than this. There's loads of different ways. All right, so there's a few more questions here. Why? T, I just use it. T for temporary. I could use I could use X. It doesn't matter. Temp is probably better. It's a variable that I'm just never going to use again, so I just make it really quick. I don't want to use, I could use item equals that. That would probably make more sense if item equals none. It doesn't matter what I actually use there. It's not a big deal. If I want to add a list of commands, okay, yes, you could. There are lots of different ways you could do that here. You could have a, I'll call it guide. I'll call it guide because help is a different thing. And I'll go at when instructions or something like that. And I'll say print type instructions to view this again. And I can just print out a bunch of statements. Print type look to see your surroundings, etc. I won't do the whole thing. And then when I run this, it shows me the instructions at the start. If I type instructions, it shows me those instructions again. So does that answer the question? Are there any other questions? I think I've answered most of the ones that came through. And I've talked a little bit about the code structure, code comments, and the basic functions. All that stuff is in the PowerPoint. If there's any other questions, email me again. Because this is going to be due in about 2 weeks or so, I think I said the 17th, I'm going to throw a few more videos up during the holiday. I probably won't make them live. I'll just make them specific to certain things if people are emailing me and having questions about those, and I'll just put some videos up. Yeah, so the at when instruction, this bit here, oops, it means when they type that in. So you could put anything in. You could change that, but don't put it as help. I'll show you why. I won't show you why. If you type help, it will show every single command in the game, which you may want to disable. And if you go to the AdventureLib website, down the bottom here, you can actually disable the help command. And when it says start, you just type help equals false within that bracket. So here you would type help equals false with a capital F. And that means that they won't be able to type help and see every possible thing they could actually type. And that way you can give in your own instructions. I don't think you can replace the help though. The other thing that you can do is if you wanted to customize the I don't understand message, you could you could put something like this in here. And so it will give you a random response. Instead of saying I don't understand this, you can just make it say a bunch of random nonsense, and you can define what it says. So the help for this is actually pretty good. It doesn't tell you exactly how to use it, but it does give you examples of what you can do with it. As you can see here, you can customize the chevron. So you can change what that prompt looks like. And it's got a few examples on here to do that. What's the question? Oh, Cody's off topic. That's all right. Okay, so I'm going to finish up there. If you have any other questions, just email me, and I'll get back to you if it's only a small question. Otherwise, if I get a few that are similar, I'll make a video on that. See you later. Oh, did Teague ask something? The date on the classroom. Yeah, I updated that this morning. I'm pretty sure I did, actually. Let me check. I may have only updated it for my class. Plan, and this is the same one. Instructions. When is it due? Due March 20th. Well, that was last week, but I'll change this now. I think I said the 17th. So that is due on the 17th, which should be the first week of the school term next term. If this doesn't save, I've been having some issues with it. Just know that it is due on the 17th. It doesn't seem to want to save anything that I make changes to in Classroom at the moment. But that is going to be due on the 17th, and don't worry about, I might have to make another one for you to upload the file to. All right, I'll finish up there. Yep, the date on the Classroom, done that, cool. And I'll remind Miss White to do it for her classroom as well. I actually watched those videos, they're pretty interesting. So, yep, I second. Go and watch them. They were interesting. Cool. Shout out.